Oh, bonjour. Uh, bonjour, Jack. I wanted to give everybody a little farm update on what's going on. We are shipping seed. Everything is pretty much completed, dried, and ready. We're going to begin shipping seed. Things kind of got late started on seed shipments, but you'll still get them all well before spring. So there's no concern there. Give me another week or two, and I'll have all the shipments out. Things have been a little crazy. Um, so yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about that it's concerned me a little bit is uh, the reactions I've seen, in the CPN group on Facebook and stuff like that from really people that I think are very reasonable people, um, about this, this thing last week with the Catholic kids uh, from Covington High School and this guy Nathan Phillips. You know, a lot of people have done a lot of videos. There've been a lot of good examples that have shown that the media was manipulating us. Plain and simple. We were being manipulated by the media. They were playing on our personal fears and bigotries, and the targets of the aggression were children. And it really surprised me and hurt me to see our people jumping on the bandwagon. Because here's the thing. Most of the CPN people, most Shishibiniak look like white folks. There's been examples of this kind of hysterical anti-white racism that's been brought down on us. Right on our people. There was a girl from CPN who did a young lady from CPN who did wrote an article a few years back. It was published in Indian Country Today. And you wouldn't believe the vicious, nasty things that were said about her because she looks white. Every year I see people complaining in the CPN groups about how their children are treated at Haskell Indian School for being white, bullied, picked on for being white. Let's stop pretending like this doesn't affect us, right? And we're like, some band from, North Dakota or something. We're not. And so, these AIM guys, I mean, I worked with AIM back in the 90s for a brief period of time. And my personal experience with them was that they were made up of a whole lot of, like 90% were a bunch of, white social justice warrior types, leftist, hardcore, and the wannabe pagan types. And the other percentage were really hateful, full blood, native types that were really hateful towards whites, and they basically just bleed them for a lot of money. Their white 90% white followers pay a lot of money to support these really racist, bigoted, full bloods who kind of run the deal. They run the organization. Now, people talk a lot about Leonard Peltier and all that. Well, if you know the truth about Leonard Peltier and AIM, they don't deserve our support. They never did. Back in the 70s, a young woman I know, her mother, Annie Pictou Akash, Annie Mae Pictou Akash. I happen to know her daughter, Denise, not well or anything, but I've talked to her a bit over the years. And her mother was murdered. She was murdered by AIM, members of AIM, under the guidance and direction of Leonard Peltier. Leonard Peltier believed that Annie Mae was, he wrongly believed that Annie Mae was a snitch. And he stuck a gun in her mouth and then instructed, and they interrogated her, they tortured her, and then he instructed his men to take her and kill her. Well, his men raped her over and over again, and then they murdered her and dumped her body in the Badlands. And all the highest members of AIM knew all about it, and they did nothing, absolutely nothing about it. They covered it up for decades until finally it was, guys like John Trudeau and Russell Means, who finally admitted, the organization was corrupt. We were all in on it. We all knew about it. There were convictions of the men who murdered her. And the truth is, Leonard Peltier does not deserve to be out of prison. He murdered an Indian woman. He and his thugs murdered an Indian woman. And that organization is corrupt, and it's always been corrupt. It's no better now than it ever was. And they love their photo opportunities, and they'll do horrible stuff and then blame everyone else and make it look like they were innocent somehow. And this thing with Covington High School is the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's AIM up to their old tricks. That guy stood there and did nothing all day long. If you watch the full video that's come out, the hour and a half video that's come out that has all the abuse that was heaped on the indigenous people at the Indigenous Peoples March, and then at the Covington High School kids as well. Those Hebrew Israelite, that group, the Hebrew Israelites, they're nasty. Those guys make they make the Westboro Baptist Church look polite. They're that nasty. And if you even speak out against them, they'll assault you. So, one guy, Anishinaabe, he looked Anishinaabe to me by the way he was dressed. He was wearing a ribbon shirt, and he was, and he had floral patterns, and he was wearing a bandolier bag, which kind of leads me to think he was, one of our people. I mean, not specifically from our band or even Potawatomi, but he was Anishinaabe. And he approached them in the very beginning of the video. You can see him approach them and say, look, there's women and children here. You guys, you don't talk like this to our women and children. And they basically, told him to kick rocks and stop worshiping animals. They're nasty. They're nasty people, and they heaped abuse on the indigenous people all day, and you didn't see Nathan Phillips beat his drum in their faces. He didn't gather up any of the other marchers and go over and confront them and beat his drum and sing for them. No. No. He approached a little kid, a little 16-year-old boy. My oldest boy is like the same age as that guy. As that kid that he was beating his drum in his face. I saw that, when I saw the full video and how he approached the kid, singled that kid out, and got in that kid's face and beat his drum in that kid's face. He was being intimidating, intentionally intimidating to a teenager, to a teenage boy, a small teenage boy. He's not very big. He was on higher steps than Nathan Phillips. Phillips had no intention of going up and playing in the Lincoln Memorial. He's a liar. If you watch the full video, you see all of it. He's a liar. And he's a bully who bullies little kids. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And he wasn't singing a prayer song. He was singing the AIM song, the one they play at powwows. So, no, there wasn't no prayer. There was nothing sacred about his song. He's not an elder. He's not, whatever that means, right? He's a few years older than me, right? He's no elder, right? He was like 11 when I was born, right? Elder. No. No, I'm sorry. Elder, kind of connotes some respectable behavior. He's not a respectable person, He's not respectable. He doesn't deserve your respect. He doesn't deserve that kid's respect, and that kid was more... I think that kid acted exemplary. That kid was fine. He did nothing wrong. What could he have done? Some guy beating a drum in his face. What could he have done? What should he have done? Well, if he turned around and walked away, they said, look, he's disrespecting the native elder in his song. Right? If he had kept a stone face, that was an uncomfortable smirk, right? An uncomfortable smile that any kid that age, when confronted by a much older man who, is behaving like that, the kid's intimidated. He was intimidated by that man. And he was brave to stand his ground, in my opinion. He's a good kid. And people talking bad about him. Oh, and I heard this pundit on CNN was the Lemonhead dude. He says, Lemonhead says, that hat that he was wearing, to certain people, that's conditioned there's a conditioned response. Who conditioned that response? Lemonhead. Who conditioned it? That conditioned response, conditioned by the media to have that response. The same media making this little, slice of, tiny momentary slice of what happened and and then reframing it as though they present, when I first saw it, I was outraged. I said, what the heck? These kids all surrounding this poor old dude and banging on the drum while he's banging on the drum, singing his song, and they're, standing in his face. Yeah, sure. Then you see the full video. It's the exact opposite. He walked right into the center. And these kids, for one, they're not racist. They weren't all white. There's some of those students that are not white. They were telling the black students that the white people were going to harvest their organs. That's what the Hebrew Israelites were telling the black students in that group. And then these kids were doing their school chants. They're chanting their school, slogans and different chants and high school, football chants and stuff like that. Because the black Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, have been yelling the most horrible things at them for like an hour, just heaping abuse on them. And they were like, we don't want to listen to this anymore. We're going to drown them out with our cheers, right? And they were doing a haka. If you don't know what a haka is, it's a chant, and kind of a chant and a dance that New Zealand Maori people do. And the Maoris in New Zealand have really made it part of rugby. It's become part of the sport now. And people all over the world now are doing a haka as part of their sport. And they have a rugby team at the Covington Catholic school. They have a rugby team. And so they started doing their rugby haka chant, right? And right when they were doing the haka is when when Phillips and his little group go into the center of these kids playing the drums. So these kids, they actually think that he's on their side because they've been listening to horrible stuff being thrown at both the native people and at the Covington kids for an hour. They've been listening to this. And so they think he's on their side, but he's not, right? He's a hater. He's a bigot. He doesn't like them because they're white and wearing the red hats, and he's going to teach them a lesson. He's going to go get in the face of one of these little kids and sing his song and beat his drum right near the kid's face and intimidate a little kid. This is not a respectable man. And, and it's typical AIM stuff. AIM loves to do this kind of stuff where they make themselves. They said for years, for decades, they said that Annie Mae was murdered by the FBI. For decades, they made it. It was that one guy wrote a book about the whole thing, Standoff at Wounded Knee or whatever, and for decades, they went on and on about how the FBI had murdered Annie Mae, and they all knew that it was them who murdered her. AIM's not a respectable organization. It's actually a disgusting organization. And the people manipulate you, and you're being manipulated. You're being manipulated by AIM. You're being manipulated by the Hebrew Israelites. You're being manipulated by the media. Folks, hold your breath, man. Okay? Because a lot of folks are like, right the very next day they were, banging on the school. They're people from our band talking about, I just left a nasty email. Oh, I just called them and told them what I think. They're a hateful Hold your breath. Just wait when you see this stuff. Because it's just manipulation. It's just lies. And they're just playing with you. You can't trust your own eyeballs. You gotta wait. You gotta wait till the full, unedited versions of the videos come out. And then go look at them. And have the patience to watch it all before you decide to influence destroying some young kid's life. Or ruining his future. For what? Because some old AIM has-been activist guy beat a drum in a kid's face and the kid looked nervous and smiled? What? Reasonable people, don't let yourself be manipulated. And a lot of this Trump thing, man, and MAGA hat thing, this is like old Lemonhead said, it's a conditioned response. He knows because he's conditioned people. He's worked really hard at conditioning people into that response. Just relax, man. Trump is like basically the same policies as Bill Clinton back in the 90s. This is not like Nazism 2.0. They're not rounding people up and putting them in camps. The whole thing with the kids at the border and all that, those were Obama's policies. Even the photographs they were using were from Obama's era. They were taken during the Obama administration. You're being manipulated. Wake up. Wake up. Don't let these people control the way you think. You have to think for yourself. That's the only way our people are going to survive, is by thinking for ourselves. Otherwise, we're just going to slowly dwindle into dust. All right? You look, you're not ever going to save our people or do anything good for our people by tearing anyone else down. You're not. Deconstructionism, this postmodernist horse crap. What are you deconstructing? No, you build. You don't destroy, you build. Okay? Growing food. Get some seeds. Grow some of our seed. You're building. You're building our culture. Learn the language. You're building our culture. There's more respect deserved by people that learn the language, that learn even a few phrases, right? There's more respectable behavior there than there is in all this intersectional deconstruction, postmodernist hoo-ha, all this activism crap. It means nothing. Build something real. Our seed, the seed I grow here on this farm, is real. It's alive. It's living. It's part of our culture. It's part of our history. It's who we are. Okay? That's building something real. Standing up in a protest, marching, posting stupid things on Facebook, you're not building anything. You're not building it. I've gotten sick of Facebook, man. I can hardly even stand being in it no more. You know, I check in, man, just so I can keep up with you know, with the CPN group and a little bit, and I couldn't go back for a week. I mean, I was getting angry. It was like, you're attacking little kids. I'm yelling at my own people on Facebook. What are you doing? Look at the real video I'm posting in the thread. This is the real video. Watch the whole thing. Oh, I don't want to watch it. It's an hour and a half long. No, but I made a phone call to that kid's Catholic high school. I'm going to get him kicked out of school. Man, I can't even be in the CPN group for 5 minutes without getting angry about this stuff. Maybe I just checked in at a bad time, I guess. But, no, man, build something. Build something real. Learn a language. At least learn, you know, a few phrases around the house. Man, I used to have a sign on my refrigerator that said, no knock ne abo, you know, for my kids. So you want some milk, you got to ask for it in Potawatomi. You know, these are the kind of things you can do where you're building something. It's positive, you know, it's building something real. Do that. Build something real. Don't do this activism stuff. It's just crap. It's no good. No good for anybody. Okay? You're not building nothing. You're just tearing other people down. All this postmodernism, deconstruction, yada, yada, yada. Man, it's just all deconstruction. It's in the name. All they do is tear it down. It's all negative. And all it is grasping for power. And you're never going to have that power. That power is going to go to somebody else who's going to use it to control you and to manipulate you. And that's what's going on. We can't